In this video, I'll give you the top 4 under the radar wide receivers who could be big fantasy producers in 2024 fantasy leagues. I'm Jim Coventry of RotoWire. Now, the first under the radar receiver who could be a big fantasy producer is Darnell Mooney of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Mooney steps into a great situation. Zach Robinson comes in to coach the offense. Robinson was a coach under Sean McVay, should learn those principles that were great for the Rams, and now we should see a much heavier pass attack in Atlanta. We know Drake London is on one outside. We know Kyle Pitts is the tight end, could be weaponized, but Darnell Mooney has very little competition, really no competition, to be the full-time outside receiver and likely deep threat across from London. Also, Mooney can move into the slot when they do go to 3 receiver sets. Mooney played 66% of his slot snaps last year. Now, Mooney has productivity in his past. It was 2021, and it took him 140 targets to get there, but Mooney had 1,055 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, in the last 2 years, look, the Bears' offense has been dysfunctional. Bad coaching, bad quarterback play. So Mooney in the last 2 years combined only 907 yards on 122 targets. He has not been good, but can it really be his fault? And my answer is probably not. DJ Moore did well, but Mooney was never going to have a chance. Now back to where Mooney is in Atlanta. Kirk Cousins is the quarterback. And again, we said Zach Robinson comes in to run the offense. That should create a lot of opportunities to get receivers open. But Kirk Cousins is an excellent pocket passer, has a good offensive line to protect him. Also, with the diverse set of receiving options they have, defenses are, though, going to have to focus on London and probably Pitts. Mooney's going to see the least attention of that group, and yet he may be the most dangerous to that 4.3 speed. So we could see big downfield plays. We may not see heavy target volume every week, so there may be some volatility to Mooney's game. But nonetheless, Mooney should be very productive in a full-time role in a capable, solid offense. The next under the radar receiver who could be a big fantasy producer is Jermaine Burton of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals used a 3rd round pick in this year's draft to select Burton. Lots of questions as to where Burton should have gone. There is talk that there were off-field concerns, decision-making concerns. I'm a football guy, so those things don't understand. But that said, the draft stock fell. Burton was very talented at both Georgia and at Alabama. He played in both places. And again, 4.45 speed, very fast player. Burton comes into a great situation in Cincinnati. You got Jamar Chase on one side. Defenses have to be in fear of him. T. Higgins certainly demands attention from defense on the other side. This team needs a slot receiver. Jermaine Burton was working in the slot during OTAs. And if you have a 4.45 speed player with the talent profile Burton has, with the light coverage he's likely to see because of the great receivers on the outside, we know Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to be able to check off of his primary receivers if he doesn't like the look. And if the middle of the field is open, which it frequently will be, Burton is going to have a big role. And remember, the Bengals play the 3rd most 3 receiver sets in the league. And unlike the Rams, who play like tight formations, this is spread out. They spread those receivers out so the receivers get space. So Burton is going to be in a great potential situation to thrive. Now, if you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, check out all of our fantasy football content and rankings by getting a free 2-day trial with no credit card needed. Just go to rotowire.com/Jim to see all of our content. The 3rd under the radar receiver who could be a big fantasy producer, Michael Wilson of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, look, I know a lot of people don't watch Arizona Cardinals football, especially last year. Wilson had an impressive rookie season. First half of the season, backup quarterbacks. We had some Joshua Dobbs. We had some Clayton Tune. Michael Wilson had at least 56 yards in 5 of his first 8 games in a rough offense. Now, after week 8, Michael Wilson dealt with injuries. Wilson played in 1 game from weeks 9 through 14. And then even when Wilson came back, and now Kyler Murray was on the field, but in the first 2 games back, Wilson didn't post stats. It was clear he was being worked back from injury. In the last 2 games, Wilson seemed to be fine. With Murray, we saw an average Michael Wilson 5 catches, 65 yards. That is a very nice finish to what was a very strong start to the season, but it went past people because of that missed time. Marvin Harrison Jr. comes in, will draw a lot of coverage. That's good for Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson's going to be a number 2 receiver. The defense in Arizona projects to be bad. Kyler Murray is very good at throwing to the perimeter. Wilson has already shown accomplishments. There could be a limit on targets, and Trey McBride is a tight end in the mix, but Wilson is an underrated player for a team that's going to pass a lot, and Wilson could be very, very productive, have a real breakout season in his second year. The last under-the-radar wide receiver who could be a big fantasy producer, Wandale Robinson of the New York Giants. Now, Robinson suffered an ACL injury in 2022, and last year he came back, but he didn't look great until after the Week 13 bye. To me, that tells me he was working his way back. And here's what I want you to know. In the first 10 games, Robinson only went over 40 yards one time. Brutal. But after the Week 13 bye, at least 55 yards in 3 of Wandale Robinson's last 4 games. That was the Robinson we expect to see. Now, possession receiver, yes. Slot receiver, definitely. 66% of his targets came there. The Giants, they did make some additions on defense. It's probably not going to be a great defense. They're going to have to score some points. Malik Neighbors comes in. That's good. Malik Neighbors is going to be an alpha receiver, going to draw a lot of attention. Wandale Robinson gets open in a nanosecond. And I know Daniel Jones is the projected quarterback. But Daniel Jones can make those throws to Wandale Robinson. Short, quick throws, open up quickly. Brian Dable scheming it up as well. And I want to point out that Wandale Robinson was in the 68th percentile in yards after the catch last year. But that qualifies something. Because remember, I said he wasn't right until week 14. So based on the end of the season, we were looking at more of an 85th, 90th percentile yards after the catch, and not 68th. And there's going to be plenty of work to go around. No Saquon Barkley in the backfield anymore. That running game's going to struggle. So they're going to have to pass. So you are getting Wandale Robinson super, super late in drafts. But in a PPR league, don't be surprised if he ends up as a top 40 receiver.